Hello friends and welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey and we are talking rumors on today's show. Here's one many of you have asked me about. How about a Darius Slay trade? I know you want more than this, but I'm only going to give it the 1 star. I'm sorry. I know you want it to be 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, or 5 if you want to get crazy with it, but I don't think this is the route the Cowboys are going to go. Now, the Lions have spoken with teams about a trade for Darius Slay. The problem here is that Slay also wants a new deal, and he has been vocal, by the way, that he wants to get paid like one of the highest paid corners in the NFL. Now, I like Slay a lot. I really do, and frankly, he's probably a better corner than Byron Jones, although Slay coming off a bit of a down year, and he is on the wrong side of 30, at least about to be. The question then becomes here, and the issue becomes, are the Cowboys willing to give Darius Slay, let's just say $15 million, or even we'll just knock it down to $14 million if you want to save that extra million there, and give up a draft pick, a probably premium one to acquire him. The way the NFL works is most teams, outside of some exceptions, normally guys entering their second contracts, most teams do not like to give up a premium draft pick and then pay a premium on a player. They're trying to save one of those two along the way. So I love Darius Slay. He'd be a great fit for the Cowboys. He could come in, instantly be your number 1 cornerback. I'm not convinced you're going to get that 8 interception season out of Slay ever again, but he'd be a number 1 guy for you. The problem is, if you're going to pay a corner $15 million, do you also want to give up a 2nd or 3rd round pick? I don't think that's how the Cowboys can afford to operate right now. Now, I will make this question the pinned comment. But what would you guys offer for Darius Slay? Let me know in the comments section. Maybe it's a 2nd rounder, maybe it's 3rd, maybe you're not even interested. Go ahead and scroll down to the pinned comment because you might get with an ad break here on YouTube. So scroll on down and cast your votes right there. We'll stick with cornerbacks here. We'll talk about Trae Waynes now. Should the Cowboys go out and sign him? I am open to this idea. I'll give it 2 stars. Of course, there are some buts involved here, but that's life. He was pegged by Bleacher Report as the number 1 free agent target for the Cowboys. I don't think he's number 1, but I think it's a sensible target. There is the connection with George Edwards. The issue is, I still believe Waynes is more of a number 2 corner. He never quite took that leap forward, at least hasn't yet, and become that number 1 guy. And frankly, Waynes took a step back this year. Now, that might make it actually a little bit more palatable for the Cowboys. It might reduce his cost. But lost in the disastrous year that alleged Pro Bowl cornerback Xavier Rhodes had was that Trae Waynes wasn't as good this year either for the Minnesota Vikings. So if it's a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal that comes in on the right side of, we'll say, $9 million, 10, maybe $8 million, might make more sense there, I'm intrigued by that. Because I can still get decent cornerback play because I think he'll have a bounce back year in 2020, but I ain't guaranteeing him $12 million, the number the Cowboys may or may not want to pay Byron Jones. Now, we will talk more about cornerbacks and potential Byron Jones replacements later this week on the Cowboys Report. So if you are not already, subscribe. And make sure, by the way, you've got that notification bell and make sure that's turned on. That way, you get an alert once that video comes out. And much to the chagrin of producer Alicia, who hates kickers, we're going to talk about one on today's show. Greg Zuerlein. How about him going to the Cowboys? You know, I almost made this 3 stars to start. Then I dug in a little bit more, and I knocked it down to 2. It does make some sense. John Fassell is the new Cowboys special teams coach. He comes over from the LA Rams. And if only because of fantasy, I would venture to say many of you know who Greg the Leg is. And he's a free agent. Cowboys have a need. That makes sense. The red flag here is that Greg Zuerlein wasn't actually that good last year. And I don't know about you guys, but 32-year-old kickers coming off a down year, that's kind of a red flag for me. Now, he was a bit banged up later on in the year, but to my knowledge, it wasn't an issue before that. He's got the cannon of a leg that you want. But this past year, 24 of 33, we'll say 73%, and inside of 40 to 49 yards, Greg was 5 of 11. What big leg kicker do we know of struggled inside of the 49 to 40 yard range? Producer Brett knows who it is. You guys know who it is too. It starts with Brett. So that's a bit of a red flag for me. Now, I would explore it, but I think it's a fair discussion to have. Maybe Zuerlein doesn't guarantee you fix all of your kickers, especially since, frankly, Kai Forbath played pretty well last year. So pick a kicker. And I want to make note as well, this is the first time in Cowboys Report history, possibly in chat sports history, that we have a kicker debate, because we never do them, and you guys get to type Z. That's brand new. So type Z if you want Greg Zuerlein, F for Kai Forbath. I will make this note in general, by the way. Regardless of what route you pick, I do not believe in investing in kickers. The inconsistency is a red flag for me. Don't pay your kickers. Go from maybe year to year. Always have a backup plan. That's the lesson we should have learned out of Brett Maher. Also got a deal for you guys today. It's Cowboys hats up to 40% off. They're still on sale. I'll keep you guys alert. I know a lot of you guys have already picked some up. It's chatsports.com/Cowboys hats. All types of styles and colors and fits and flexes and all of that. It's available right now at chatsports.com/Cowboys hats. Check the comments and check the description as well. I've got that link in there for you guys to go click and shop. Focusing more now on free agency. How about moving on from Randall Cobb? Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this one. I'll give it just the 1 star. Comes from our close personal friends over at Fansided. Randall Cobb is coming off his best year since 2015 with the Dallas Cowboys. And there are some good arguments that were presented, like you can find a slot receiver in the NFL draft, which is true. And I do think that Randall Cobb is easier to replace than some other players. But I also don't think the cost is going to be that high for Cobb. With Mike McCarthy in town, Cobb likes Dak Prescott. Very clearly, maybe Cobb would settle for under a $7 million per year price tag, or even under $6 million, around that $5 million amount again. I think that's about the right range for Cobb. Now, if he gets out of control, that's fine. That's why it's the 1 star. He can leave at that point. The problem I had with this article was the argument that you have depth behind Randall Cobb with other players. No, you don't. No, you absolutely don't. Devin Smith is fast. That's about it. He had 1 game this year. Cedric Wilson, I like him, but I'm not going to make him my number 1 slot guy. Ventel Bryant, y'all had no idea who that was before the Cowboys signed him, and it's okay because maybe 0.05% of the football world did if you didn't know if you weren't a Temple fan. Noah Brown, John V. Johnson, you don't have depth behind Randall Cobb. So if you want to replace Cobb, it has to come in the NFL draft or in free agency, and at that point, maybe you're better off paying Cobb and focusing on other spots with your money and draft picks. So let me know in the comments. Everyone has their limit. Now, you can argue how much higher you want to go by the limit, but everyone should have their price tag. What is the most you would pay Randall Cobb? I like the value you got for him at $5 million last year. You can talk me into 6, talk me into 7. If you start getting beyond that, especially for a multi-year deal, it gets a little bit dicey at that point. We will stick with receivers. Next up is Tavon Austin. Should the Cowboys let him leave? I'm going to give it 3 stars. I think this is the best route for the Cowboys. I know the connection is there with John Fassell, but Tony Pollard can do a lot of the things you want out of Tavon in terms of not being a deep threat, but special teams, jet sweeps, reverses. If I'm doing my offense correctly, I'm giving those touches to Pollard, not to Tavon Austin. Now, he never became the 1 to 2 dozen touches a game guy that Stephen Jones sold you. I'm still convinced he meant snaps because it makes a heck of a lot more sense. But if you're just looking for a number 4 receiver who has speed and can help on returns, I can find that at a cheaper cost later on in the NFL draft, and I can use that extra million on a different player or whatever. And the past 2 years, well, I guess Tavon did get 1 to 2 dozen receptions, 21 in 2 seasons. That production is very replaceable. And frankly, Michael Gallup and Cooper have had success as deep threats. The best value Tavon has for this team is in jet sweep motion and on returns. Pollard can do that. Now, Pollard was a kick returner at Memphis. That's his best role. I can find another special teams guy in the draft. I can have Cobb just fair catch it, or I can try Pollard or Jordan Lewis on punt returns. Those are options for the Cowboys. Now, if Tavon takes the vet min or close to it, don't get me wrong, I'm bringing him back at that point. But if Tavon wants to get a little bit more money or wants a bigger role elsewhere, then allow him to walk. He ended up being fine, I guess, in terms of the trade because you didn't give up much to get him. But he doesn't make enough plays for you. In the end, he's what Rams fans told us he was going to be. He wasn't going to be a game changer. So what do you guys want to do? Type K for keep, W for let walk. Again, if the price is right, you can talk me into keeping him, but I wouldn't mind adding a draft pick instead. Now, today's show is brought to you guys by BetDSI. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code you see on your screen. It's Cowboys120. I know the NFL season's over. You can bet on other sports too, like the XFL. Maybe you want to bet on the Dallas Renegades. I'm intrigued by the matchup against the Seattle Dragons here. I will make note, hopefully Landry Jones plays better in this one. I don't know if you guys watched that game. First half or so was, that was rough for Dallas, and Philip Nelson was not much of a quarterback beyond 5 yards. Those are the betting odds on that Dallas Renegades Seattle Dragons game. If you want to bet on the XFL or any sport, do it on BetDSI. It's chatsports.com/bet. The promo code one more time for y'all is Cowboys120. Let's talk draft here to wrap things up. Is this the year the Cowboys go with a safety early? I'm going to give it 2 stars. I want it to be the case, maybe not even a round 1, but I'd take a round 2 safety pretty quickly. Because it's been a need for the Cowboys for years, and it's a need they have consistently neglected. They have convinced themselves we can get by with anybody at safety. Now, it is a somewhat top-heavy class this year, which makes me want to draft safety, like I wanted Juan Thornhill last year. But it would require the Cowboys to break previous trends. Now, safety, look, it's very clear to me and most of you guys out there, it's a need. Jeff Heath can come back as the number 3. I don't want him starting anymore. I want an upgrade. I am not convinced Darian Thompson or Kevon Frazier, both rated by the way upgrades, or that Donovan Wilson is a free agent. But if the Cowboys were to go safety early, it'd be the first time in a long time. Now, they took Donovan Wilson in round 6 last year. He barely played. Xavier Woods was one of the best 6th-round picks of his draft class. I hope we understand that. Kevon Frazier's been on the roster. They took Ahmad Dixon in round 7, 2014. The last time the Cowboys spent a day 2 or earlier pick on the safety position was J.J. Wilcox back in 2013. It's been a while. And there are good safeties this year. Ashton Davis, Grant Delpit are free safeties. You got Xavier McKinney. I'm a huge fan of Antoine Winfield, and as I've said before, by the way, I think Kyle Duggar fits this mold too, Antoine Winfield is going to be this year's Juan Thornhill for me. I'm going to love him. There's a chance he's going to be there for the Cowboys, and they're going to break my heart when they choose to not take him. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.